All right, let's look at the SEC, Peter, because everything indicates that this is still the best league in the country, except maybe the results on the field. So, National Signing Day is coming up in 2 weeks. We're going to see all the statistics that show us that the best players are still in the South and they're still staying home mostly and going to SEC schools. And then we're going to see the NFL draft in a few months where we're going to see that confirmed as well on the other end of the career. But in terms of results this season, the ACC just played really well. And I hate to blow out of proportion a few results, but 10-4 against the SEC, and most of those like-seeded matchups, so they weren't unfair matchups, and the ACC played extremely well.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. I think any educated SEC fan agrees. I mean, they've seen great college football over the last couple of decades. That they know good football when they see it, and that's what ACC brought this year. And so, kudos to them. And you go back and look at recruiting wise, because as we get closer and closer, we're only almost about 10 days away, 14 days away from the National Recruiting Signing Day, that it still reigns supreme in the SEC. This is where, at least in the southeastern part, maybe not the SEC, but the southeastern part of the United States, that's where a lot of the talent is going to reside in. And I think the one that's really shocked me is how big the rankings have been for Georgia. Kirby Smart, in his first full recruiting class that he gets an opportunity underneath his feet, he can go to every single offensive lineman and wide receiver and defensive player and say, guess what? I got Nick Chubb and Sony Michel coming back, and I've got Jacob Eason here for at least another 2 years. You want to come play for a great school in Athens and an opportunity to play for an SEC championship and possibly a college football playoff berth? Come out here to Georgia. And I know that he's keeping a lot of those guys that over the last couple of years didn't stay in the Atlanta or the Georgia area, and they went somewhere else because Mark Richt wasn't kind of up to speed on them. Kirby Smart's not allowing him to get out of the state right now, and that's going to be a huge thing for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, the recruiting just doesn't let up in that conference. Steve Spurrier pretty much had a pat line every year, but because it came out of his mouth, it never got old. That, I got the 22nd or whatever it was recruiting class in the country, but I've got the 10th recruiting class in the SEC, and that's the plight of somebody at one of those schools in the SEC. So kind of getting back before we let you go, Peter, on the actual play on the field from this past season, we know the league's not going away. Everything's fine. There's just too much talent there and too much talent coming in and too many resources. But do you think that the play on the field suffered over the last couple of years? Do you think the other conferences have caught up, at least maybe temporarily?
I think that what it used to be is that there wasn't a whole lot of parity, right? The SEC had reigned supreme, and then really what it was over the last couple of years, there's been a call to action to the Pac-10, to the Pac-12, to the Big Ten, to the ACC of saying, hey, you know what? We're sick and tired of hearing SEC chants. We need to spend more money in facilities. We need to be more aggressive in our recruiting, and we need to hire better coaches. So I think it's not necessarily the SEC is down. I think what's happening is that everybody has raised their levels. They saw, what facilities it took, what you needed to pay these coaches, what the schemes were here in the conference. And I think more importantly, how do I land a recruit? And Urban Meyer is a great example. He learned with the best of them down here in the SEC of how to recruit those guys. And he brought that to a more of a gentleman's type recruiting world in the Big Ten. And look at the success that he's had. So, I don't look at it as necessarily down. I just think everyone's kind of catching up with the times, and that means it's on an onus on SEC coaches outside of Nick Saban to adapt to it and say, hey, you know what? We need to reinvent it like we did over the last couple of years. I still think we're going to be able to pay the light bill over here at the SEC Network. We'll be all right with some of the teams next season.
All right, that's good to hear, because my next question had to do with the light bill and if you were behind a payment or two.
I think we're okay. We're going to be all right. Even though I look like I'm in a hostage, I look like I'm trying to sell you insurance on this thing, but I'm in one of our conference rooms right now, so we'll be all right, I think.
By the looks of it, Peter, I'm right there with you. So we're trading insurance tips, I think, right now. Peter Burns of the SEC Network. We appreciate it, Peter. We know you got a ton going on, so thanks so much.